So you could be walking into your dream home and walking straight past thousands of dollars in missed opportunities because most buyers don't realize how much builder incentives, financing options, and negotiation strategy can impact their bottom line. So let's be honest, you're not going to learn from that salesperson in the model home. So in this video, I'm going to break down the biggest financial mistakes buyers make when purchasing a new home in Southern California. And I'm talking about real numbers, real strategies, and the kind of insight that could help you hold on to tens of thousands of dollars from the day you sign the contract to the day you close. So I am Steve Enchin, your Southern California new construction home expert, and every week I talk to people just like you on the best way to buy a new construction, brand new home here in our community. Now, if you're buying directly from a builder or thinking about building from the ground up, this video could easily save you from overpaying before you even realize where the traps are. So we're going to get into the discount, why the discount that you see on the listing price might not be the smartest use of your money, and why putting 20% down isn't always the power move people think it is. Also, how builder financing incentives really work and what they don't tell you up front, and why buying into the wrong community or builder can cost you far more than the sticker price. So no, this isn't about playing games. It's about understanding how to make smart strategic decisions and putting your money to work in the right way when you're buying new construction in Southern California. So let's get started. You might think knocking $15,000 off the price of a new construction home is the smartest way to save money, but here's the truth. When you run the numbers, that price drop barely moves the needle on your monthly payment. And yet that's where a lot of buyers, especially here in Southern California, get tripped up. So let's walk through a real example. Let's say you're looking at a new home priced at $700,000. The builder is offering $15,000 in incentives, and like most buyers, your first thought might be, great, let's get that price down to $685,000. That makes sense, right? But here's what that actually does. Assuming you're putting, say, 5% down, that price reduction drops your loan amount from $665,000 to $650,000, $750,000. With current interest rates, we'll call them, say, around 6.75%, that saves you roughly maybe $97 per month in principal and interest. Not nothing, right? But not exactly life-changing either. So now let's look at what happens if you use that same $15,000 towards a rate buy down. So at today's rates, the same rates, a $15,000 credit from the builder might realistically buy your interest rate down by maybe about a 0.5 percentage point, depending on the lender and the day's mortgage pricing. So for example, if you're financing around that $665,000, that could take you, say, from 6.75% down to maybe like 6.25%. So in that case, your monthly principal and interest payment would drop from about $4,320 a month to about $4,090 a month, saving you around $230 a month. That may not sound massive at first glance, but hey, over the first 5 years, that adds up to nearly $14,000 in savings, and you still came in with less cash at closing. Same $15,000 from the builder, way more impact. And if rate buy downs aren't the right fit, you've got another smart option. Say, apply that $15,000 to your closing costs. That money can be used to cover title fees, lender fees, prepaid taxes, even help reduce your cash to close. So that puts money back in your pocket immediately, which can be especially helpful if you're tight on liquidity, you need to furnish the home, you just want to hold on to more of your cash. So here's the big takeaway. Builder incentives are flexible tools, but the value you get depends entirely on how you apply them. And just a lot of people get tunnel vision around sales price. It's understandable. That's the big visible number. That's the one that shows up on Zillow, the one your friends ask about. But your monthly payment, your upfront costs, and your financial flexibility matter a lot more in the long run. So price reductions can help, but when the savings is less than $100 a month, you really have to ask, is that really the best use of that $15,000? And this is exactly the kind of conversation I have with my clients every day. I'll sit down with you, the lender, and if we're working directly with the builder's lender, we're going to model out what gets you the most value. Sometimes that's a rate buy down, sometimes it's closing cost assistance, sometimes it could be a mix of both. But I'll tell you this, blindly pushing for a lower price just because it feels like a win, that can cost you thousands over the life of the loan. So before you jump at that price cut, make sure you've looked at the alternatives and done the math. Because in this market, smart buyers don't just chase lower prices, they structure smarter deals. Now let's talk about another mistake I see all the time. This idea, probably from Dave Ramsey, I think he's a big proponent of this, but this idea that you have to put 20% down when buying new construction. A lot of buyers come in thinking that's the magic number. So maybe they're told by a family member or some online influencer like Dave Ramsey, or maybe it just feels like the responsible thing to do. But the truth is, that approach could end up tying up a lot more of your money than you need to. And in this market, holding on to cash might be your smartest move. So let's break it down. Say you're buying a $700,000 new construction home here in Southern California. A 20% down payment on that is $140,000. Wow. That is a big chunk of money, right? Now let's take a look at, say, 5% down instead, and that's just $35,000. That's a difference of $105,000 out of pocket. Now, obviously, yes, putting more down does reduce your monthly payment, but the key question is, does the math work in your favor when you compare how much you're spending now versus how long it takes to get that money back? So let's say today's interest rate is 6.75%, and you're trying to figure out whether to put 5% down or 20% down on a $700,000 home. Now with 5% down, your loan amount is $665,000, which puts your monthly principal and interest payment at around $4,313. Now, if you go with a 20% down payment, your loan drops to $560,000 and your monthly payment falls to about $3,632. That's a savings of roughly $681 a month. Sounds like a win, right? But here's where the numbers really matter. That $681 of monthly savings costs you an extra $105,000 out of pocket up front. So if you divide that upfront cost by the monthly savings, it would take you more than 12 and a half years just to break even. 12 years. So now ask yourself, are you going to stay in that home for 12 years? Will you even still have that mortgage? Will your plans change or will you move? Because if you're not holding that loan long enough to recoup that money, then putting 20% down could actually cost you flexibility, opportunity, and liquidity. And keep in mind, you're not throwing that money away. You're still making a monthly payment with 5% down, but you're also keeping more of your savings liquid. So you have options. Maybe you want to furnish the home, cover some unexpected costs, or keep a healthy emergency fund, or maybe you're thinking bigger, like investing that money elsewhere, or simply waiting until the market shifts again. So this is the kind of strategic thinking I walk clients through all the time, because it's not just about what you can afford, it's about what gives you the best return on your money and your goals. So you may prefer to invest that extra money elsewhere with a better return. So it really depends on your own goals, and there is no right or wrong answer, just options for you to consider. So none of this is to say you shouldn't put 20% down if you want to do that for peace of mind, to avoid mortgage insurance, or because it just feels better. I completely respect that. What I care about is that you are making an informed decision, and a decision that's actually right for you, not just because someone told you it was smart. And that's why this matters, because most buyers just never see this math. They don't think about their break-even point. They don't look at opportunity cost. They just assume a bigger down payment equals better. And that's not always the case. So before you write that big check, let's make sure it's really working for you. And now let's talk about one of the most misunderstood parts of the new construction buying process: builder incentives. You've probably seen this, the ads, big bold banners, up to $40,000 in incentives, special interest rate buy down available this week only. And that sounds great, right? Well, here's the catch. Those incentives almost always come with strings attached. And if you don't understand the details, you could miss out entirely or make a less than optimal choice. So here in Southern California, these incentives are real. They exist, but they're tied directly to using the builder's in-house lender or preferred lender. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but you need to know how it works. So let's say the builder's offering what we call a forward commitment interest rate, maybe something like 5.875% fixed, when market rates are closer to 6.75%. Big savings, yeah, but that rate is only available if you use their lender, and in some cases or with some builders meet very specific guidelines, like a conventional loan only, 5% down or more, minimum 720 credit score. So if you want to use your own lender or you don't meet those credit or down payment thresholds, guess what? You might lose access to the incentive altogether, or it might be reduced substantially. Here's why. Builders don't offer these incentives out of generosity. They negotiate rate blocks and bulk commitments directly with their preferred lenders, and those deals cost money. So when you use their lender, the builder can offset those costs through the lender relationship. If you go outside that setup, the builder's no longer willing to eat the cost of that incentive. Now, that doesn't mean you're stuck. If the builder's lender can't approve your loan, most will let you switch lenders and still move forward with the home. But again, some or all of those financial perks, they just may vanish. And what if you're planning to pay cash? Ooh, that's a different story. Some builders will try to shift those same funds into a design center credit or help you cover closing costs, but it's not automatic. We have to ask for it and structure the deal the right way. If you don't, you're leaving money on the table. Now, one more tip. Many of these rate buy downs and closing cost credits are time sensitive. Builders lock in those favorable terms in bulk, and once the funds run out, they're gone. That's it. That doesn't mean you need to rush into a contract before you're ready, but it does mean you should be aware that these offers have expiration dates, and sometimes the urgency is legitimate. It's not just a sales tactic. So bottom line, when you see a flashy interest rate or big incentive package, read the fine print. Ask what the requirements are. Ask who the lender is, what the underwriting process looks like, and whether that lender has a good reputation for closing on time. Sometimes you'll find the builder's lender offers a great deal and a smooth process, but other times your own lender or my in-house lender might still be the better fit, even if you're giving up the incentive. And this is where having an agent who specializes in new construction is a big advantage. I can help you compare offers, talk through what's real and what's just marketing fluff, and help you keep your options open while still securing the best possible terms. All right, let's talk about negotiation, because yes, you can negotiate with builders, but no, it doesn't work like negotiating with a homeowner in a resale deal. There's an art to it, and if you don't understand the structure behind builder pricing, incentives, and management approvals, you could end up asking for the wrong thing, or worse, leaving real money on the table. Now, here in Southern California, most builders have some level of flexibility, but it's not always obvious. But in most cases, the sales teams have been trained to reject offers from consumers. And no, what you read on Reddit or Zillow forums, sorry, it's not true. You cannot tell the builder you don't have a real estate agent and they will give you a better price. Hey, I've heard of that working in Texas and Florida, but it has never worked in California. Most builders will only agree to negotiate when you have an agent leading the process. Now, the base price is usually firm, as we covered in our previous video, but that's not where the leverage is. The flexibility tends to come from three places. One, incentives, two, upgrades, and three, closing costs. Now, you might be tempted to walk in and start pushing hard for a lower base price. But here's the truth. Asking for a price cut just to feel like you, won the negotiation often backfires. Builders don't want to create appraisal issues for the neighborhood. They're building dozens, sometimes hundreds of homes, so dropping the price just for you messes with their comps and they're going to push back. What they are more likely to do is offer you what we call back-end value. So money for design center upgrades, paid closing costs, and of course even a mortgage rate buy down. And these are real savings, but they don't drag down the future value of the homes around you or your home. So for example, if you're looking at a $950,000 home in, say, South Orange County, and the builder won't budge on price, they might still give you $30,000 towards upgrades or interest rate credits, but only if you ask and structure the ask properly. And timing matters too. Are you negotiating on a quick move-in home that's already built and sitting there vacant? We have more leverage than someone buying a brand new lot in phase one or the future phase of a new community. Another overlooked opportunity, non-monetary perks, things like getting, say, the refrigerator, the washer, dryer, or even a finished backyard landscaping credit thrown in. So these extras can add up to thousands in real value, especially if you are planning to spend that money anyway. But here's the catch. You need to know how far to push and when to stop. Builders have internal approval layers. A sales rep might be able to offer us up to, $10,000 without blinking. But if we start pushing for $20,000, $30,000 or more in concessions, they're going to need to get their sales manager or division rep involved. And at that point, they need to feel confident that you're serious and ready to write the contract. So that's why I always tell my clients, let's ask for what matters, but let's do it strategically. We don't ask just to check a box. We focus on what actually moves the needle for your goals, whether it's a lower monthly payment, more cash at closing, or getting the home exactly the way you want it. And also, be ready to sign. One of the biggest mistakes I see buyers make is negotiating a great deal only to hesitate for days while thinking it over. During that time, the builder might allocate their forward commitment funds to someone else, or raise prices, or even sell your home to another buyer. Or worse, just assume you were not really serious about buying the home. So if we've negotiated terms that work for you, please be ready to move. And don't forget that higher price point, the more room there is to negotiate. So that $1.1 million home in Irvine, you might have $40,000 or $50,000 of value to work with between credits, rate reductions, and upgrade allowances. But that $600,000 home in Corona, your room might be tighter, might be $10,000 to $15,000. But even that can make a meaningful difference if it's structured correctly. And this is exactly what I help my clients navigate. Builders respect agents who know how to work within their systems. So when you come to the table with the right information and a plan, they're far more likely to say yes. And then we can turn that into real value for you. So let's shift gears here and let's talk about long-term value. Because one of the most common mistakes I see buyers make is choosing a home based only on the short-term price tag, without really thinking through what that decision means 5, 7, or even 10 years down the line. Now, I get it. A lower price point is appealing, especially when rates are high and monthly payments already feel like really tight. But here's the thing. Price is only one part of the investment equation. So when you're buying new construction, especially here in Southern California, the location, the phase of the development, and the quality of the builder and the surrounding amenities all play a huge role in determining how your home holds or gains value over time. Give you an example. Let's say you're choosing between a $950,000 home in a fast-growing, amenity-rich master plan in Rancho Mission Viejo, and a $650,000 home in a more remote or perhaps stagnant pocket of the Inland Empire with limited infrastructure and no clear development pipeline. That difference might seem like a big deal today, but 5 to 7 years from now, it's likely that Rancho Mission Viejo home will have appreciated faster, not just because of the build quality, but because of its location, the school district, future retail, the trail systems for hiking, and overall buyer demand. And that directly impacts your equity when it's time to sell or refinance. And here's another example. If you buy in phase 1 of a brand new 1,000 home master plan and your timeline is to sell within, 5 years or so, you might run into a problem. You're not just competing with resale homes at that point, you're still competing with the builder. And the builder can offer things you can't. Rate buy downs, design credits, closing cost incentives, and model home staging. If they're still actively building when you list to sell, it's tough to win that comparison without a deep price cut. So the takeaway here is this: short-term affordability doesn't always align with long-term value. I'm not saying you should stretch beyond your means. Absolutely not. But I am saying that we need to take the full picture into account, especially if this home is part of your long-term financial strategy. So I always ask my clients, what's the plan? Are you staying for 7 years, 10 years, 20 years? Are you buying this home to get into a specific school district? Or is it a stepping stone to your forever home? So those answers shape how we evaluate neighborhoods. It's not just about square footage, it's about resale demand, walkability, traffic flow, and even things like HOA managed curb appeal. So it's also worth thinking about the timing of your exit strategy. If you're buying into a large master plan development and your plan is to sell soon after the builder finishes out the last phase, okay, well that's usually a sweet spot. The community is matured, amenities are complete, and buyer demand is still there, but you're no longer competing with builder incentives head to head. Now, of course, we can't predict every detail of the market, but we can be smart about choosing communities with upside. We look at planned infrastructure, new school developments, retail corridors, even local employment hubs. So a $900,000 home in Eastvale near employment hubs and recreation may hold value better than a similar priced home in a stagnant or distant part of the Inland Empire, or say one adjacent to freeway noise or warehouses. So bottom line, don't let sticker price blind you to long-term potential. A home is where you live, but it's also a major asset, and let's treat it that way. Buying a new home in Southern California isn't just about picking a floor plan and signing a contract. It's about knowing where you're buying, who's building it, and how to structure the deal in a way that protects your cash, lowers your monthly payment, and positions you for long-term value. And that's where I come in. So if you're considering buying a new home, whether you want something already built or plan to build from the ground up, I can help you negotiate and navigate the incentives, builder contracts, the upgrade options, and mortgage strategies that most buyers never even realize are on the table. Because the truth is, most of these deals are quietly negotiable. And the people who get the best outcomes, they're not the ones who show up at the sales office alone. They're the ones who walk in with a plan and someone in their corner who knows how this game is played. So if you're thinking about buying a new construction home anywhere in Southern California, like Orange County, LA, the Inland Empire, hey, reach out. Contact information's up on the screen. I'd be happy to help you understand your options, run the numbers, and help you decide if now is the right time to move forward. And if you're not quite ready yet, hey, that's totally fine too. Subscribe to the channel. So thank you for watching, and we will see you on the next video.